Okay, welcome, welcome, welcome. So, this, let's go back a little bit here. I was watching this yesterday. I'm a little behind catching up. I'm trying to catch up before he finishes episode Z. I'm probably 6 or 7 episodes behind though, and they're 2 hours, usually about 2 hours of like dense content, so it's hard to just like watch them without like watching them. Just like that casually have them on is not the same. So I need to pay attention, which means I need to be like full attention to watch these, which I did not give to this because I was listening to it in part, I guess. So I didn't catch where Bernie Housen is talking about the what Nick Zentner brings up as the Cretaceous still stand. And he's like, I never heard of this. And I'm like, me neither. Tell me more. Very interested. Okay. So before I move on from this slide that he was talking about, he's basically, Bernie Housen is a geologist whose focus is in paleomagnetism, seemingly. Pardon me if that's incorrect. In terms of the angle of analyzing things, and he basically studied the region in question of Baja, BC, and so on, and established that they tend to have in this time frame a North Pole in this location, Cretaceous, North America, Cretaceous poles. North America Cretaceous poles, which is pretty interesting. Like it had its own pole. Its pole is very close also. Let me pull up. This is going to be relevant as we go forward. I guess I'll bring it on this tab. Bring this over here also. Also, someone, since I have this up, someone was suggesting that shallograms are, of course, fossils. Einstein. That was their reasoning. It was that if you put, I believe it was hydrogen peroxide on the fossil, it will bubble, and because it's calcareous. And I just Googled the word. It's not like I don't know that it's talking about carbonates, but just to see like the full extent of what came up and didn't bother to do so. So we just see this tab here. But since I'm talking about it, I should just kind of respond real quick. The concept that these are fossils, like what, like where would the hydrogen peroxide go? Here, or just only here? Only here, or it would bubble here. Honestly, it's not the worst test, but the problem is it's under an assumption that the calcareous shells we find are themselves also fossils. It's circular reasoning, really. It's saying these shells that we consider to be fossils are fossils, and so because those things that we also consider to be fossils are fossils, when we put hydrogen peroxide on these and those, both have the same result, therefore those are fossils. But it's under this initial interpretation that these materials are fossils in the first place, when they're really not. They're like little galaxies that formed a layer because of the material that was more detectably like little galaxies, that then we say those are shell fossils when they're just not. Okay, let's move on though. That's not why I don't want to get stuck on shallograms. But so, if you don't know what I'm talking about, then you gotta watch my other videos, because I'm just gonna jump into this. The undercurrents that calls the Earth's magnetic anomaly map. So the magnetic anomaly map is really important in that it like is interpreted like over here. All of this has these kinds of things where it's north oriented, south oriented, and it just like repeats over time. That gives this like layering of north, like basically suggesting this is what we've interpreted. Looking at these layers here, the magnetic anomalies, we've interpreted that they are indicators of times in Earth's past when the poles flipped. Understand, though, that this is under the interpretation that these years, millions of years, this Cretaceous period was like 145 million to 65 million years ago, when it really wasn't. None of this was that long ago. Basically, well, these ones, but these weren't that as long either, but they were longer than like over here, because there was a period when the Earth was stable as a single landmass, and then it, around 600 million years radiometric dating, 650 maybe, was attacked by a vortex weapon at ancient Dwarka, which is actually leading into the Younger Dryas, which is what caused the Younger Dryas, because the Earth then was punctured at the mantle here. Exactly here, where mantle then upwelled in all directions. And what exactly the materials are, I don't know. So like he mentioned the comment about Calcareous, mentioned also that therefore it's not like magma, like implying that the mantle is only one material. I don't know what these materials are. People are so limiting because they don't want to actually consider possibility. They restrict it to the narrowest possible thing, deny that thing alone, and then treat it like that was sufficient. That's what happens. Where it's just not what I'm saying. I'm just saying a current flows, and trying to decipher what that current is, what the nuances are. Yes, it's nuanced, and applying a rough approximation of that nuance atop it, and then treating it like the rough approximation is what I said and is sufficient to like analyze the correctness of the theory, when the rough approximation is not sufficient, like it's not actually deciphering what the flows are. It's just like, it's probably these things. Oh, it ain't those things, so therefore, blah, 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 blah. Like it's not really open. It's just shutting down the truth. Whatever the truth is, if you're unwilling to consider possibility, then you won't find the truth, unless you already happen to find it. But that means that you're relying on everyone else to have happened to find it, when we really don't know what the fuck we're talking about at all. Like literally, we don't know what we're talking about when we're talking about fossils, because they're not fossils. It's that scale. We don't know what we're talking about. No offense to geologists or anyone who promotes plate tectonics. We don't know what we're talking about when we talk about plate tectonics, because that's not how the Earth functions. It was caused to expand by a vortex weapon that attacked it like a nuke, but the next tier up, a vortex weapon that literally causes the planet to transform, terraforming the planet to a new planet. Where it was a single landmass, now it's not. Vortex weapon. Okay. Still stand, though. It grabbed my attention enough where I was just like, I'm going to hit record. Okay, so let's check out what's going on with this still stand. Compilations of paleomagnetic data from Cretaceous rocks of stable North America all show relatively small changes in pole position for most of the Cretaceous time. Despite over 40 years of study, there remain questions regarding the nature and duration of this still stand. APWP. Maybe APWP. APWP. Apparent polar wander path. Apparent polar wander paths still stand. So a period in time when an apparent polar wander path does not change. Here, I guess they're saying. And then it moves. I don't know. Reanalysis of North American paleomagnetic data with updated geochronology for many of the igneous units was used to define a total of 27 locality means, with ages spanning from 130 to 85 million. Mean poles calculated for 10 million year ranges are separated by less than 10 degrees. The apparent polar wander pole connecting these mean poles can be described as defining a very small loop or as a single cluster. This short path or lack of apparent polar wander pole indicate motion of North America did not have any appreciable latitudinal component relative to the spin axis, and motion was mainly or entirely toroidal during that time. Toroidal, dude. Oh my god. Why would they use the word toroidal to explain North America's motion in a plate tectonics model? Incredible, though. Incredible. Like these currents. I'm gonna let Nick explain real quick.
Precambrian and Paleozoic, we don't know anything about the paper. A way to express what I'm trying to say right now. You did notice, didn't you, that there was a paleomagnetic flat line in the Cretaceous? Apparently it's called the Cretaceous still stand. The Cretaceous still stand. I'd never heard of it until I read Bernie's paper. Unwieldy poster, huge poster, geologic timescale. Back in the Precambrian and Paleozoic, we don't know anything about the paleomagnetic signatures of the planet because we don't have any ocean rocks from that time. If I fold that over, now I...
There's something significant that I don't quite comprehend in why these exist. Okay, let me go into some thoughts. So what he just said is really, really important.
Precambrian and Paleozoic.
Precambrian. Notice we have this. We don't have here.
We don't know anything about the paleomagnetic signatures of the planet because we don't have any ocean rocks from that time.
We don't have any ocean rocks from that time. So first of all, we don't have any ocean rocks from that time because the Earth expanded, and at that time it was a single landmass with no ocean rocks. That's why we don't have ocean rocks at that time. Secondly, the Earth expansion process did this. How did it do this? It wasn't by pole shifts because it was occurring rapidly. Maybe in some like energetic sense where the currents were focusing was two poles and like it filled this way. It basically, the way I'm picturing it is this mantle puncture hole. Here's the mantle puncture hole over here. Current goes this way and this way around the Earth, this way and this way, so that they end up coming together, but they're not just a single line. They become like a fanning arc under North America versus this more narrow channel this way that deflects up. So it goes across this way, but then also up this way, deflecting around North America, which is caused by the current basically going this way. So this current goes here, over this way, over this way, over this way, across here because it's literally no ocean yet, directly from here to here, where it then goes beneath the crust of an ocean, a pre-existing ancient ocean at the time, where Atlantis existed. And then it continues, but then the magma flowing under the surface has heat exchange with the water, which causes turbulence in the water, boiling. It literally boils the water, which then it rains from the sky and cycles, creates just like an intense cycling, which then produces the glaciation of this region. It's not glaciers that did it. It's literally the heat exchange from this undercurrent of magma that caused boiling and cycling of the water so that it just flowed. And then it continued across, though, and basically cooled, creating a boundary, a leading boundary around here, especially from here over to this region, maybe up here, unclear exactly, but especially clear here. And then presumably it continued this way, it looks like, initially, at least, and then it got reshaped by overall currents of the process. But so essentially that leads to this, which then this current from the mantle puncture hole going eastward deflects up this way, around, goes around a terminal, this feature, around it, and then basically around this way and back under Asia into the cursed magnetic anomaly, back over this way, which cuts over here to the Mariana Trench, runs into currents in Australia, right, basically, at that time. And then also it cuts across this way and goes back that way, but it goes in here, creates the Siberian traps in this region. So this current is flowing up this way and around what produces basically a terminal. So it makes a terminal. I'm thinking maybe this is what he's referring to here. Like initially, maybe the terminal wasn't just always like focused here. Like the currents physically chunked pieces off of this side and accumulated pieces over here, like, and physically moved it from like around here, like something like this, to up here, and just physically move this mound overall to then be a new terminal. But it was like standstilled around here in this time frame specifically, before moving around when the Earth supernovaed at 66 million. This is when it's supernovaed, building into it. This is kind of interesting. It goes up, over, and then, 130, 126 goes this way, this way, this way, and then back. So if we go from 110 to 100 to 90 to basically the tip of Alaska, maybe over here. I'm wondering if this pole that it's following is really where Hawaii was moved to, like the Hawaiian particle was moved up here, and then in that time frame, because essentially those are the right time frames. No, they're not. Not quite. No, they're not. They are if the collapse of Rangelia, the drop that led to the Nanaimo group around 85 million years, I believe, in that time frame. Is that certainly in the 80s? I think 85, maybe 84 or something. That one, I believe, is because the Hawaiian sphere physically was beneath it and then ended up over here lodged here, like it came up this way, but then the ocean opened and Hawaii moved across with the opening ocean to then beaches over here. So it was like over here, maybe like up this way, got here, where it then lodged here, but maybe there's certainly evidence that it could have gone here, here, and in this region. These weird, just like circle indentations, that one, it doesn't really fit the patterns of currents that much, but it might make sense for a Hawaiian sphere that probably created this one to have created that one and that one, and maybe other ones like over here. Hard to say. Okay, we still haven't gotten to this Cretaceous standstill, though. I've appealed to paleomagnetic data from rocks in western North America. Using paleopoles from stable areas in neighboring continents, it is suggested that the available late Cretaceous paleomagnetic record in western North America should be analyzed in terms of rigid body deformations rather than be used to represent the cratonic reference field. Okay.
If I fold that over, now I zoom in for you if possible with the camera on the Mesozoic. This is the Cretaceous still stand. Why do we have 10, 20, 30 million years without a magnetic reversal? Why do all the rocks of the world turn? Why do all rocks of the world at 100 million years and stretching from 120 whatever to 85? 85. That's the Cretaceous still stand. Why?
Right up until Hawaiian Islands seamounts start to appear at 82 million. Mind you, this is not actually millions of years. This is maybe years, like maybe 1,000 years for this process. I'm willing to entertain in that range of the Younger Dryas period, basically, as the actual duration of this process.
And didn't Bernie say earlier in his episode, his appearance today, people still don't know exactly where North America was during some of the Jurassic? I wonder why that is. I've never heard that before. I know this is all over the place. 100 million years.
Okay. So, this is what I'm thinking, is this current over here, this right here, has a current go this way and a current go this way. Those two currents, whichever one is like dominant at a time, induce like layers one after another that systematically across time filled in the space to produce the ocean floors. And at certain times, like here, one of the paths was dominating the other path in terms of inducing influence on the ocean floor. Whereas like over here, like basically one goes and goes and goes up until resistance is met, and then it basically is caused to stop because of the resistance, but then the other one goes because it's like has so much accumulated pressure behind it because it hasn't been able to flow that it's able to flow again, and then it flows through until that one's pressure is released, but then the other direction's pressure is building again, and so it just cycles one, boom, 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 just creating these layers. That's my interpretation of what's actually causing these, that they're not actually pole shifts whatsoever. but maybe they're reflective of pole shifts. Like at sometimes this current is going this way, going up this way to here, but maybe other times it preferentially, I don't know, goes through to here, like to another pole that is unclear if it exists down here, maybe around here. Like maybe it comes in through here and out through here to go to Australia from Africa here to Australia, just across. But then maybe it also loops. Like has a kind of pole here that's creates like this big old loop. Generally speaking, it's hard to say because there's just not data. Maybe there's other maps with better data of this that I'm not aware of, but this one does not have the data filled in, so it's hard to say. We can only infer what's going on there by related currents, like coming in from eastern, basically from the mantle puncture hole down this way, down here, through here, which then entered in through here, across here, and then out through here, which entered in, or through here, and entered in through here. Maybe also through there later on, like initially there, but later on there, get opened again, kind of thing. Probably. But over here, it's hard to say, but maybe there's something as distinct as this terminal down there. Maybe not. Hard to say because we just can't see. But my thoughts are maybe sometimes it goes this way and goes up to that terminal. Other times it goes this way and goes down to this terminal. And by interactions with the two separate terminals of the Earth in the process, whichever current is overwhelming the other in like pushing into the ocean to like create that next layer that then induces this trend is then polarized in a detectable way by just literally its flow, the way it's flowing. Like sometimes it's flowing this way, sometimes it's flowing this way, and that just is enough to induce a effect, or maybe it couples to the terminal it goes around and it becomes like energetically coupled to it even at a distance, like quantum entanglement kind of thing, so that it like carries its signature because it passed near the terminal. This thing is very near this, at least this one. Like I assume this is the modern pole, and so it went from this is the average of these, here to here to here. These are other poles. Reference poles for most of Cretaceous time shown in orange, and poles from the insular superterrane are shown in yellow. Poles from the intermontane superterrane are shown in blue. Appear to lie on the intermontane Carmax group pole. Nicole Ridge MC and Duke Island DI appear to lie on the intermontane Carmax group pole. Physically located on the insular superterrane and show consistent paleomagnetic poles with other insular superterrane sites. Duke Island, Coleridge. I gotta read this more thoroughly. Let's check out the images. Batholith, like Coast Plutonic Complex. Batholith. This is where the zircons are considered to come from. Maybe they are from there. It may be that they're from there, from the current, basically this current that flows across this way. Through here, if we follow it real closely, this way, here, and then basically there's a current here that comes in this way. So this is a good example. It comes in this way, and then it runs into resistance here and deflects down this way. Basically through here. There it is, right through here. Like especially it starts to deflect this way. And so this current runs into it and divides and goes down, up, down, and then up, down, up, and it vibrates across this current. So now in this location especially, we see one current coming from here, which is effectively coming from here this way. So this current that created this, the undersurface of North America, and the continent of North America ended up being supported by and shaped by this segment. It then ended up building so much pressure that the current just went around. I keep doing that. Went around, and then it fanned out, but from around here, at this point here, where the mid-Pacific mountains are adjacent to this region, with like the nose here. I know it sounds ridiculous, that's just where things were. The mid-Pacific mountains formed there, and then the current swept across underneath North America, across this region, basically to here. Across it, which maybe was here. And then it runs into this current, where this current then interacts with it. So this current, if we put this X spot kind of around here, essentially right here, then this vibrating current coming across is flowing into this general region. Somewhere exactly, where exactly, I'm not sure. Maybe bounded up around here. So it's flowing into this region. So it's possible that in so doing, it's really breaks the batholith wall and then creates a single batholith around here. This one, the Idaho batholith. It basically took this whole stretch that was all the way up here, pretty much, shoved it over to here, this segment, and took its components and broke it apart and basically probably swirled in this region because of pressures and currents, and essentially moved it and broke it apart and redistributed it, but also layered it with metamorphic rims and just rims. Not just layered it in different ways, sometimes with rims, sometimes not, depending on how exactly, maybe the more precisely direct current that was just drilling into the batholith, physically moving the segment that's still there. Maybe that had like a bounce off and flow back to Nanaimo region, which I think is where the metamorphic rims are found. Like back up this way, along this current. this current coming up to here, bringing this current colliding into this batholith, whatever materials it has, some of them getting swept up and just funneled into like one location because probably the floor dropped out, so it just filled on in. And then at that time, what was being formed was this current hitting the batholith and breaking it apart, I guess, in that location specifically. And so my guess is in this standstill, in this phase, one of them, like, it's basically the Earth is rapidly supernovaing. It's beginning to, at 66 million years, boom. That's when the ocean floor is able to freely form because the continent's bonds break, which we, like the Chicxulub crater, Nader crater. I found 12 suspected or confirmed impact craters at the KT boundary, which is not understood. And even if people want to argue, well, the impacts can form like in a line, that's not really like a, pardon me, Randall. Crater chain, like this thing. This thing's clear-cut evidence they're not impacts, because guess what? Shaligram. The only way this could be impacts is if there's an impact like this. Boom, 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 and it went this way. Or this way. One way or the other. It couldn't have come in this way. That really is unfeasible. Like, it could, but then, like, if you think about it, imagine what must have happened for this is an impact. Coming in, some single object that breaks apart. So it's coming in against the pressure, running into this pressure. What does something do when it hits a wall? It begins to fragment, but does it fragment in a line? Like, directly? Boop, 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 boop. Like, it's too convenient. You know what does flow in a line? Current. Undercurrent. So, like, this is undercurrents that flowed in a line and then produced and it's really like a large scale shallogram. Like, if we look at some, not like this kind of feature, but the subtle ones. Yes, also like this kind. Like, this is kind of what's we see the openings off of like a channel path. But what I'm getting at is more so when it actually has the openings off of a channel path like this. Like, here's a channel, and then here's some lobes off of the channel that are shallogram lobes, like that. Same thing going on here. So they're not actually impacts. They're caused by undercurrents, and there's all sorts of reasons. They're also at coastlines. You can read this article if you're interested. These two KT boundary events, not only are there impacts, there's also major orogeny events, major events. This separation between North America stops at 65 million years, but is going on until then from around in the hundreds, 150 range. This one. Non-random distribution, Nader crater at the coastline. Chicxulub kind of relatively at the coastline if you consider especially its ring reaches the boundary. Pretty much, maybe even, I don't think it goes out, I don't know. I strongly doubt it reaches actually into the ocean. That was hilarious. into the Gulf, whatever, like into the ocean floor, into this region, like past here. The ring does not reach past here and like protrude into this. It's within the boundary, maybe up to the boundary. Like, this one shows it as past it, so crater limit of ejecta. I wonder if there's actually ejecta found in this region. It may be that it already existed, and So, yes, but maybe not. These ones. This one even has like a landslide kind of thing going on, whatever they're pointing to here. I'm not quite sure. And it's really at a. They're really. This one is over here. At the coastline. They're at the coastline, relatively. This one, these three in San Diego, off the coast of San Diego. Here's another one that I just listed. I just tried to list ones near coastlines, and even not near, like here's one not near a coastline, but it seems to be at the boundary of this hexagon. So it's, even though it's not at a coastline, it seems to be at a boundary, like a nodal point of this hexagon. So maybe relevant, I don't know. Okay, so okay, we saw those. Yeah. This is interesting. Intermontane. CC looks like it's, based on what they're showing, paleomagnetic reconstruction of North America using two reference poles. Mid-Cretaceous and latest Cretaceous. I assume this is where the data suggests that they were, and then they moved that much. This one here, this one here, this one here, this one here. What have I done? DI up here, TA. A cluster, I guess. MT CH. A, this is mid-Cretaceous, late Cretaceous. CG. Find it interesting. There's paleomag relating to fossils also. He mentioned that there was something that can only be done with fossils for paleomag. Dudes, what are we doing? At some point we can be like, wait, these ain't no fossils. These ain't no fossils, dudes. Oh my god, paleomag aligning with fossils? Could you imagine a paleomag aligning with, like, humans? Doesn't really make sense. Oh, look at our graves. I mean, it probably does happen. It just doesn't make fucking sense. I'm willing to admit it also happens in living creatures. It just doesn't necessitate it. Although maybe it wouldn't be on the. I don't know. I'll take that back. I don't know. I don't know that it happens in living creatures. I know that it happens in currents that induce living creature looking fossils that are not fossils at all because they're actually current induced shells made of basically the iterative fundamental particle that just repeats fractally but is an iterative fundamental particle on display in shallograms most in detail. Other studies from the insulars. Okay. Let's see. Let's find some good images. The hits, the run. Insular. Yeah, Maggie, one of the other videos in this series was pointing out the inaccuracy and inadequacy maybe of this approach of like insular, just labeling the terrains at all, like doing this like insular. No, like it's way more nuanced than that. It basically invites the rough approximation too much and doesn't capture the essence of what happened. But there's so much nuance that it's hard to capture that nuance in a model, so this is a good way to do it. So it's common practice, but it doesn't actually quite accurately describe what's happening and invites inaccuracies that need to be removed to actually reach it. Not to throw shade on this, it's not paper specifically, it's a common practice in all of them pretty much, but it is something of note. Although there is probably a general trend that can be captured in these. I'm not like there is something to it for sure. There's something to it. It should be under the understanding there's more to it than that they're just blocks. That like this block is here, then it was there, like and then it's nothing else happened. Like we sure didn't mix and like totally become multiple things because of currents that were flowing. Okay, I don't want to get caught looking at this paper too much. I was more concerned with this. Paleo. Let's see. It's not gonna work. You guys want us to fucking collapse. This is literally what abundance does, is people start to get really, like, stingy with stupid things that are not thought through. Like, it's not thought through to limit this information from reaching someone like myself. Why the fuck is there a 1991 paper that requires $12 to access? Or to be, like, compliant. Either you're compliant or you're paying Why are those the philosophy of people who claim to be in the business of information? Because they're in the business of. They're not actually in the search for truth. They're just in a business of selling information, and they don't give a shit about like that. They prevent the free flow of information and have ramifications. Really don't give a fuck. They don't think about that. Yeah, it's fine. It's totally fine. We gotta make that $12. How am I gonna pay my mortgage? Maybe revolt against this trash system. It's like I was watching yesterday, Jordan Peterson on Joe Rogan, his most recent appearance. He's talking about people posting anonymously, and this is something like whistleblowing, and this is something I personally have thought about a lot because I found the theory of everything. And I was like, I have an opportunity to do this many ways. And what are the ways I could do it? One of the ways is I could, like, be a pseudo person, not be me, and hide myself and not put my name to it because it's too much, like, cost to, like, not play Batman and hide. What do you mean? I don't believe those things. Isn't that person crazy? I'm just passing along how crazy this person is. This Susan, make it a female, black woman. Wow, black woman. That would have worked. You fools would have been fooled by that nonsense. Oh, beautiful. Exactly. It doesn't matter if we even look at it because it's black woman. Oh, white man though. White man being real. Showing his real fucking voice. Oh, danger, Will Robinson. He wants our things. Alright, dude. Some like this. Yeah, maybe. Is it really theirs though? It's certainly not the like. Do you think Jay Gunderson or Steven Sheriff see a fucking dime? This ain't no record deal, dudes. This is we print your paper and you say thank you. The end. You get paid by your institution. You don't need to get paid by us with some record deal shit. You just keep going. Thank you. We'll publish. And it's hard to publish. It's hard to print some paper online, even like this. I can't, like, this is literally online. So what does it cost them? Nothing. What did they do for this? Nothing. They made a page and now they're selling it for $12 when it's not even theirs. It's literally their research. That's the world we live in, dudes. We need to revolt as soon as possible when we got this as a education system. People thinking this is reasonable. It literally is abundance. If the world was collapsing around us, would this make any fucking sense? You gotta pay, dudes. Look, you're trying to find a way forward in the world. You gotta pay. You gotta pay. Yeah, we didn't say we had the answers. We just have information that maybe applies to something you're looking at. And would it inform just a little bit, but you gotta pay us for that informing just a little bit so that you can maybe have a breakthrough that will help our dumbasses. Fucking noobs. Okay, so like this. And this certainly come across and create layers that then just simply is what's going on here. It's just what's going on here. It's just what's going on here. I wish this thing would... It may be because I have some attachments at poor places where it doesn't hold because it's like got pressure always. I don't know. Okay, guys, that's all I wanted to say for now, was to chime in on this concept. Like, they're not pole flips. Maybe that's worth mentioning. And here is what they are. And this is certainly relating to, if you watch my, maybe a little more of information, if you watch my Earth undercurrents video, this one, converging currents under Australia. Here's the boundary of Australia. Like here, around this, something around there. It's hard to see exactly, especially when I draw over top it. This is the current coming under North America. This one's coming along the western boundary here. This is the yellow one that ends up going here, and then there's a current coming down this way, down here, which is this one. This one is related to the Mariana Trench, and this one's from Antarctica. So we've talked about all these currents already. So that's what's going on here. And then they converge and produce this ammonite, but then basically this is me drawing this current coming in and then building up pressure. I did it wrong. I probably should have done one full one this way, full one this way, full one this way, like the whole line, and more so drew the line, the whole length, not the whole width. Like it didn't do this way. It did the whole line, and then it widened. It didn't do what I drew. I just drew it this way. But over here, why was I talking about this exactly? Oh yeah, this system is just gonna like induce the Baja BC. So like this is going on to induce the Baja BC. All this stuff moving that they're talking about here. That's moving. I'm not sure if this is the best one to move to, but moving up this way from Baja up to here, sliding up. It's being shoved up by this current. This current. And so it may be that in this time frame when this system is really active and like doing things, it really causes one of the currents to be overwhelmed, while the other currents is just able to free flow and just produces a period of free flow of one of the currents, and then the other current kind of has a period where it's allowed out for a second, and then it really goes back to more of like a vibratory thing until it's stabilized. Relatively, maybe it's not stabilized, but relatively. Who knows what the future holds, I guess. Stabilized for time. Okay, so thanks for hanging out. Peace. Till next time.